Welcome back here to the 6 hours of Westhill International. So this was our little commercial break without commercials. You see the problem. We're back live, seeing the picture of Dominik Engel. We'll be back in the commentary booth after this stint, I guess, or after the next 2 stints. So he's in the commentary box, not at the moment, but he will rejoin later on. So let's take a look at the leader. That's the My3ID racing car, currently overtaking the leader of the GT2 class, car racing. The 03 car currently with quite a gap to the following Dennis Lind. Well, quite a gap means 2.1 seconds. So Dennis Lind really came close over the stint to Westhill. I hope I really pronounced those names not too wrong. So Infinity Esports in second position. We're within the pit stop period, so there might be the one or the other move. For example, third place before his commercial break was Team Virus, but this place got taken by the FZR of Conquest Racing in the GT1 class. They are yet to pit, like the 2 leaders, but they are 35 seconds behind Dennis Lind, and therefore they are 37 seconds behind our race leader. Niki Darkovic here is in 4th position currently for Virus, followed by Bartolotta in the M5S car, Dominik Engel in the Genuine Racing car, and the second, the XRR of Conquest Racing in 7th position currently. While we have a driver change for the 71, Pardo leaves the car and Alonso joins it. Alonso, if I recall it correctly, it's a rather common name in Spanish-speaking areas, so that means that there is no reason why one could think of that J.A. Alonso is related to the Formula 1 racer. So Bartolotta Goslani for the XRR of Conquest Racing. In 8th position we've got this car, the LLM machine, all in green. We've got quite a number of green cars on GT1, it seems. Maybe the number board and the green elements were some inspiration for some of the teams. And Poker in the number 19 machine. 71 is off. But back on track. Who just left the pit lane, and the car now looks fourth hand. I wonder to what number I will count it up during the stint. Let's see if there is a pit stop upcoming. No, they stay out on the track. So the Poker. Oh! Just as I wanted to show them to you. Racing League Romania with a spin. Right in front of them, Alonso with an off. Too bad we don't have dynamic track surfaces, so we would have, at the exit of turn 1, quite some dust and grass and quite some slippery places there. 49 of Kronpush just served a drive-through penalty. Probably for speeding. Because they got it right before they made the pit stop. Yes, it was speeding, I get the confirmation. They're in 10th position currently. Garcia for Scuderia Gas Racing Team in 11th. And last but not least, Asex Motorsports in 12th position, the last running GT1 car. We don't have any retirements in GT1, which is kind of nice to have. We only have 12 cars in the class, so it's good. Moving to GT2s, who are already behind, about 5 laps behind the overall race leader, behind, and 53 left front puncher. So Slatev is bringing this fast and crazy machine into pit lane. It turns out to be a puncture fest. The first stint borders 4 or 5 punctures. This must be the 8th overall, I guess. So our race director Jonathan Palmer says that this might be due to the fact that people tend to train alone, and training alone doesn't give you the full racing experience. And so it can happen that during the actual race you are confronted with problems you didn't even think about beforehand. Continuing the rundown, we've got in first position of GT2s, the machine of core Racing. For a moment I really was tempted to say Core Autosport, but that's a very different team. Core Racing leading in pretty dominant fashion. Apart from lead changes due to pit stops, there hasn't been any other race leader so far in that class. Although the team behind them is Sonic Realms, and they have got quite a reputation. Although this team is not to be compared with the team, let's say 3 or 4 years ago. There were some drastic changes, and the 99 is in second position. Third position is World Class Lions in this colorful 61 car. They had their ups and downs during the race, including at least one puncture and a drive-through. No, just a drive-through, not a puncture. The puncture was their sister team. But although they have had a drive-through penalty, they are in third position in class. Behind them is a Team Virus entry, the 58 of Jago Ditz. And left rear puncture on this car, that's the 19. The Romanian Racing League Romania, RLR. They try to cross the track into the pit lane. They do so with no problem, no big problem. And are in the pits to do their pit stop. Rear puncture that I think that might have something to do with what we've seen earlier. Their well, drifting experience they had about 5 or 6 minutes ago. Because if you've got a flat spot, it's very likely to get a puncture as well. Infinity Esports in the pit lane. Coming out of the pits. Of course behind. Well, I say of course, but it's not that obvious because Infinity Esports is just 2 seconds behind my 3ID. So earlier we've seen them down in fights with 5th place teams, and it was a big group of cars, from 2 down to 5 actually. And we've got the next puncture, 55. That is this car. And it's A6 Motorsports, the GT2 machine of them. We're in 12th position. Don't repair damage. That seems to be quite interesting. I'm not sure, but I have the feeling there might be some more damage to this car. Okay, the cosmetical damage is worse than the actual suspension damage. Currently leading in GT2, we do have the world-class lines, and one must say that this is one of the pit stop relatedly changes there. They're just passing 55. Latin Mackie is just 4 seconds behind them, and they have still to do a pit stop. And the pit stop is not such a fast affair as in Formula 1, for example. But let's move on to Remco Major and the orange LLM car. Maybe as well inspired by the orange decals for the class. Currently in 5th position. Though tracker just updates. 4th position. Because Virus went into pit lane, yeah, 4th position. So far, a rather quiet race. They've had a busy opening of the race, especially with all the GT1 traffic coming up. There were the one or the other strange moment, but so far a quiet race, and let's see where this campaign is going to end. The 88 of Iron Club. We've had him in a fight with Fast and Crazy a few laps ago. Not him personally, but the team. Niki Dakovic just overtaking him. Also a rather quiet race. We've seen the 88 off though in the early parts of the race. And the one or the other moment, also this fight, or well, it didn't turn out to be a real fight, between Fast and Crazy Sim Sports and Iron Club was initiated by a driving error of the 88. Behind them is Virus. We've already talked about them. So moving on to the other LLM car. This light blue Sabali Jauskas driving it. Then we've got the Fast and Crazy car. The second Sonic Rams car, the only FXR, the only car in the field which is protected by law, so to speak. Yeah, with a driver of Masters of Endurance fame currently on board, Paul Mantes, better known under his name Spannemann. He joined SR about half a year ago, after having separated from Race Star. And we've got a timeout of Corrade Doritz is gone and back on the server. This will mean that this car loses quite a lot of time, though they are a lap ahead of the most cars behind them, so they don't lose that much positions. Probably lose against Last Lap Motorsports, because Rommelfanger was on the same lap and behind them. But the timer did help me with his lag. It's still pretty bad looking. Don't know if this comes also comes on the stream. The streaming machine usually is a bit of a pure... Yeah, we see it on stream. I just took a look. It's not really comfortable for you to be around that car. Quite some connection action here on the server. We've had Talkler and Thilo joining and disconnecting right afterwards. Pretty strange. We were at Paul Mante in 8th position for Sonic Rams. Tomasz Koreni for R-Force in 21st position. Then the second World Class Lions car, the FZR. Less colorful than the sister car, in 10th position. Then the A6 car, the 55. It really looks fourth hand currently, but the car is still running and in 11th position. Sorry, 12th position. Oh, and 13th. Tracker says 13th because Wisniewski is in front of them. Yeah, that's the trouble if you have Tracker and don't have a game that works after Tracker. Here we have Wisniewski in the orange Virus car. Earlier in the race, they had a pretty stable 5th place. then there was the timeout, not 15th place they were, sorry. They had the timeout, and actually we've got someone cheering for Virus at all, that's Mouseman. By the way, Tomat Nodjic, of our race leader, is actually cheering for the GT2 team of Sonic Realms. He says lots of great drivers there, so go, go, go. And of course Blue Flame, who doesn't know him, the little forum prominent, so to speak. He's cheering for the 72 of LLM. That's the car of Santos. Which is just at this moment going to pit lane. There doesn't seem to be a driver change because Santos is the only driver of his car in pit lane. They don't repair damage. Anyways, let's also take a look at the 73 of Absolute Beginners. Currently in 14th position. They also had a pretty eventful race, some spins here and there, and that's why they are a reason why they are so far back. Also, we have got here Alonso for Scuderia Gus Racing, who had very just very similar names to the F1 World Championship driver. Man, I'm speaking something. Yeah, 17th position for Last Lap Motorsports, Santos, and yeah, then we've got, not to forget, 15th placed Mafia Racing with a very early timeout. Wisniewski for Team Virus in 12th position currently, and Doriat's, who timed out just minutes ago, is the last one here on the server list. So far, no safety car intervention, which is a very good sign. So the race is very fluid. Westhill usually has very little safety cars. That's because of the layout, but we've seen quite some cars, especially quite some XRRs in the gravel, so there was the danger of safety car, but so far everything could be handled with push cars pushing the stranded car out of the gravel. Lap 90 is completed. At least lap 90 of the racing laps. We had 2 formation laps. One was scheduled, the second one was due to the aborted start. And this car is in the lead. The driver who cheers for Sonic Realms. Jumping now to the 25 of Rommelfanger. Well, some of you might know him from City League under his nickname Matthias Ekström. It's quite a surprise for me to see him over here in the international regions of Lift Speed. As I said, he's usually a City League regular, but with City League currently being in some off time due to homepage repairs and resettings and limited private lifetime of all involved. Currently there's no City League races, and so he's over here for LLM as a guest driver. Here we do have Ronnie Kronbusch for race green. They had a joint venture with Green Angus, with Angry Angus Racing in the last couple of months, but Angry Angus Racing closed its doors, so the team around, let's say around Ronnie Kronbusch and Matthias Lind is now all on themselves in this league. Currently in 9th place. We're on board with the 62 of Last Lap Motorsports. While the 72 comes in yet again. This time for driver change, Carossa takes over from Santos. Oh, and this is going to be a chat penalty. Carossa posting a smiley. He likes what he did, but he won't like it, the outcome. there is the drive-through penalty as expected. Contact between Carossa and Dennis Lind. What was that? I'm now joined by some voice you might know when you've been watching our broadcasts. Usually as interview partner, now as assistant commentator here in the booth. Welcome, Isaac Price.
Hello.
You were very close to this aborted start. Have you seen anything? Can you say what happened?
Well, I didn't see it because I was driving the rescue car, so...
Ah, the rescue car. I thought you were driving the pace. Oh no, that's...
Well, yeah, I was in front of the GT2 field, so I couldn't see anything.
Okay, yeah, true. But yeah, what have you seen of the race so far?
I sort of had remote open a little bit, and looked like a decent battle for the lead in GT1. It was quite close between Dennis and Tomek at points. But I think Dennis he's going longer on his stints, but he's doing the same strategy. It's just he wants to get as much time as he can in the car, so I guess that's sort of under control for Free ID at the moment.
Personally, I'm a bit surprised about how short some of the stints are in GT1. I thought they would make the 1 hour mark, but some of the teams didn't hit it once yet. How do you see it? Is it just something to be a bit out of rhythm, or is it really the cars on this track that need so much fuel?
Well, it's not the fuel, it's the tyres, because I mean GT2 have to use R3, and then GT1 use the same tyres. It's quite marginal.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good sign if they're not making the hour. I mean, looking at the tracker, it looks like Vires and Genuine and Conquest are all going to be in trouble to stop if they can't eke out their stints a little bit. So it's a hard track on tyres.
Yeah, and Tomek just made a mistake there, running wide in the final complex.
To do.
Well, you, unlike me, was on. Okay, after nearly 3 hours, I'm starting to brabble here around. What I wanted to say is that, unlike me, you are a driver on a highly competitive level, and I think you will see some things different to me. While I'm more, hobby racer, gentleman driver, so to speak. You're one of the pro racers. Is there anything exceptional that you witnessed around this race? I mean, you haven't watched the whole of it, I know, but
I haven't really seen too much of it. I mean, I think Tomek sort of had quite good quali pace in GT1, and I sort of know that. And I think pace in GT2 isn't that competitive. But like, I know that, like, for example, Yessi from Core can do quite a lot better than that because he did in GTM. But
And from your perspective, is there any driver you're surprised to see here around, or?
I think Dennis is doing really well considering he's in an FZR. I would have thought that's slower here. I mean, the world record's actually slower in FZR without restriction, but I mean, I'm sure it could be better. But at the same time, he's still doing a really good job to be that close to the lead in GT1 right now. I'm quite surprised to see that. I didn't really expect FZR to be able to do that good in his hands. Usually it's sort of, when a car's under restricted, it takes a really good driver to sort of pull it up a bit out of its level. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Tomek there, but I'm also not there. Dennis is doing pretty good. He always seems to struggle at Westhill, so.
Battle for position in GT2 between 53 and 62. So Fast and Crazy and LLM. But LM seems to struggle to follow the Fast and Crazy car. Currently is pretty stretched out.
Yeah, it's quite hard to follow other cars at Westhill, so. It's not too weird to see it sort of space out in the middle of the race, because obviously every team has like a faster driver and a slower driver, and they might use their slower driver at the start hoping for a safety car, or they might use their fast driver at the start when they make more of a difference, because you can lose a lot more time in traffic and stuff like that. So it might close up again later on once everyone's driven a bit, if you see what I mean.
We do have a car off the final corner. Oh, that's the 71. Scuderia Gas racing team. What would you think would a safety car do to the race now?
We'd probably hamper Infinity quite a bit because their faster driver's driven 3 hours already, I think. But well, gain or lose, it'd probably help the teams that have not been able to make the hour mark because they could make a free pit stop as well if they need to, or it might, you know, just give them that little bit of a breather on their tyres.
Oh, there was lack of contact between the rescue car and the car and the gravel, but the car is out again. And in the middle of the road with traffic approaching.
Yeah, it's one of the hard calls for the sort of admin crew that here it's quite hard to get stuck in the gravel, but when a car does, you're always going to be pushing them out into an oncoming traffic at high speed. So it's always something they've got to weigh up before they make the choice whether they should bring out the safety car. It's not just whether they can get the car out at all, it's whether it's going to be safe for them to do it at racing speed.
I don't want to imagine what kind of discussion would come up if the rescue car puts the car out of the gravel directly in front of the leader.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that sort of situation doesn't necessarily happen that often, but if you start pushing the car that can get out, they might drive out in front of the other car. Usually the rescue cars don't push them, but...
Now we've got again the situation that Thilo joined the server and left it right after. Once again, is this some kind of maybe related to communication between him and Engel? That Engel asked him if how he thinks the tires are going to be, or something like that.
Possibly, but you would have thought he's experienced enough to be able to judge that himself. And I mean, when you're checking someone else's tyre through a replay, it's always a bit delayed, and you're going to struggle to really tell a difference between a tyre that's going to go and a tyre that's not. Like, I mean, sometimes your tyre can actually have more tread than someone else's at a certain point of the stint, and yet still you can't extend your stint as much. Like, I remember a few times that I've sort of thought my tyres look better than his, but I know I can't go another lap, and then I watch him go another lap, so sometimes.
Alonso with another mistake now, spinning out of turn 1 and 2.
Name there.
Nicky in the pits.
Trying to do 6 stops during the race, then that must be their tactic, which means they're quite good tour, I think. Well, the strategy that means they won't get a puncture during the race rather than the one that's going to be better overall. So I mean, I would have thought the strategy is fairly similar to what it was at Westhill, not as in the not reversed configuration. And I know that it was sort of, it was marginal to make it work, but it was a lot better if you could, because like there was no way you could make up the time lost.
Well, we've had sort of a puncture fest the first at the end of the first stint, so maybe after what we've seen today, I mean, that have been at least 10 or 12 tires that popped Maybe they decided to go on the safe side.
You do get a puncture, but it's one of those things, it's quite difficult to manage it because, like, a track like Westhill, you have quite a high heat peak, but then your tyres get quite cold at the end of the stint as well, so they'll scrub the tyres a lot at the end. So if you make a set that doesn't have a high heat peak, you'll probably just scrub the tyres at the end and do the damage there, and if you do it the other way around, it'll work the other way. So it's quite a difficult balancing act to sort of really get right, especially when you've got like lots of different driving styles in the same car. That's quite tricky sometimes because you have quite a dramatic difference. One driver might find a set quite, you know, well balanced, perfect for them, and then another driver might find it really understeery and there's no way they can make their tyres last. Front limited, and at a track like this, it's your front tyres that sort of take the punishment, which is why I guess that Dennis is able to do such long stints, because for the FZR it's not as big a issue here. Obviously that's just a guess, I haven't really ever driven an FZR here, in GT1 anyway.
Well, from what I know, it's a very different level I'm driving at. But actually, the rear tires are harder to be controlled over the race distance there. So I guess the fact that the track eats front tires can help you in terms of setup making to balance it that direction.
Yeah, that's sort of the tracks which are sort of traction limited are quite tricky for the FZR, but then again, sometimes it can not be such a big issue if you can make R2, R3 work in FZR, whereas like an XRR, it always doesn't work perfectly. I mean, you can sometimes make a set that does work, but because of the way the XRR gets more understeery as you go through a stint, it makes it really difficult to sort of get a set that will go through your heat peak without burning the tyres too much, without, you know, basically making it too understeery or too oversteery at the end. Because even if you make it really oversteery at the start, you won't just heat your rear tyres more, because obviously if you start having to correct the car and stuff like that, you'll still scrub your front tyres even if they don't necessarily get as much heat into them. So be good setup in lift speed because of the way that the different factors there are in tyre wear and how important it is to be able to extend your stint, because the car's always a lot faster at the end than at the start.
Genuine racing in the pit lane.
Dominik Engel is handing over the car to Rasimir Ivanov.
Virus past them, but they should be easy out before the 07 of Conquest Racing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Genuine's tactic is, because they're pitting sort of too late for it to be just a straightforward one extra stop. It's like they've sort of gone 4 minutes too short every single stint, rather than, like, if they were trying to do one less stop, they would have sort of pitted earlier, like Virez did. I don't know, were they one of the teams that got a puncture earlier on in the race, or?
Virus didn't get a puncture now, and Genuine didn't either. I think punctures were more a problem of the teams further back in GT1 of ASEX, Racing League Romania, and Scuderia Gas Racing Team. A demo racer, Rosewood 2, just said in our thread that he is cheering for Infinity Esports because who said that everyone has to cheer for the same team? Quite an interesting idea why to choose a team. Just to be different.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the more interesting reasons to, support a team. Seems there's no NX racing cars, I don't have anyone to support this race. So you'll have some nice, unbiased commentary from me.
That's always welcomed. And another comment about this race by Tim Stadius from Last Up Motorsports. He says, this race came a bit more interesting after I found my beers.
I hope he's not, trying to drive or something. As long as he's just a spectator, that's fine.
Yeah, if he's just a spectator. Let's take a look. Is he on any of the Last Up Motorsports lists? There's quite some Last Up Motorsports cars, which doesn't make it easier to find. No, he's not on one of them, so he's just a spectator. So, yeah, you may use as much beer as you like.
R2 Yolastalo has once again joined the server. Be interested to see if they actually pit this time or whether it's just another connect. It's possible he's just checking his connection because he's quite known for having bad internet, but from my experience of watching his sort of timeouts and stuff, it's usually sort of a lost connection, just suddenly he doesn't really lag, so I guess it's not that. Things like that when you've got the race under control. To check, but
yeah, usually he's just gone when it happens.
Stop as well.
So there comes the My 3 ID car in the final corner. And they are in. Thilo now on track. And we are now joined by the man in the red car who just climbed out of it and gave it to his teammate. How was his stint?
The first one was beyond awful, and the second one was okay-ish. The traffic out there is just a nightmare. Had a few good battles in the first stint, but I was mainly struggling with balance. But yeah, you really notice there are more GT2s than GT1s. I'll put it like that.
So, how's the tire management? Isaac and I were discussing it all earlier.
Yeah, I was wondering whether you had intended to be on strategy or on from the start of the race, or whether you've had to sort of adapt it.
No. We, well, half adapted, but we adapted it way before the race. We adapted it, I think, Wednesday night when we realized that not all of us could go 1 hour safely. So we thought, well, we'll just go as far as the tires will safely go with pushing, and we'll just do that and gamble for a safety car maybe to bring us back in with the guys who do 1 hour stints. Looks like Virus has seemingly done the same. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's still just over 3 hours to go.
I mean, was it purely a sort of a safety thing, or was there
It was safety, because it was safety because Otto was, well, I was the only one who could do 1 hour. Otto was blowing his tire before, and we thought, well, if we can't conserve them, then we'll just use them up and do a couple of laps shorter.
Yeah, it sort of seems to have killed any hopes you have of being able to take the fight to the cars ahead of you in a straight race, though, because you don't have anywhere near enough of a pace advantage with the less fuel and the less
unfortunately
set.
Didn't exactly have the preparation we wanted to for this. You know, we until late last week we were working on a 9-hour race to have the GT2 car there, and well, that thing kind of failed 2 days or 1 day before the race. So we just about started getting laps in on Sunday, and yeah, we really didn't work on the set much. We really took something we had already and I don't know, changed a few bits and bobs, and that was it. Not really the thing we usually do, but it had to do for this race.
It's one of those tracks as well that if you've got drivers that are usually a bit harder on their tyres, it's very difficult to really be able to compromise back, because like I was always lucky enough that I had teammates that were a lot better than me on tyres, but if I'd been like free of myself, there'd have been a few times where I really struggled to make my tyres go the full distance.
Yeah, well,
and I think that, you know, I've noticed in the past sort of Otto and Grassi are both in that sort of category, that they're very fast, but they it comes at
Yeah.
a price of their tyres.
And on top of that, there's me with Westhill syndrome, which means I'm incredibly using up my tires while not going anywhere in comparison.
Dennis Lind in
Uh,
pit lane. He will
well,
be giving the car to Blue Flame.
that's a rather short stint from him. He did a much longer one the previous time. And
Yeah, he's
if I'm
pitted after
not
like
wrong.
50. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he pitted after like 50 minutes, hasn't he?
I think he pitted, the last time I saw the D-Lin pitted message, I think it was 2 hours and 6 into the race, so it's only 53 minutes then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's because he wants to be able to get an extra stint in. Like, because he could do 4 hours. But
Oh yeah, that actually could be it, yeah.
But it does ask the question why he extended his stint in the first place. I guess, to be honest, it looks like, because he's like by far their fastest driver, I guess he was just trying to do something different to try and, like, if a safety car played into their hands, they'd have a chance of getting a really good result. But I mean, do you think you can chase them down now? Because I mean, Dennis is by far their faster driver usually.
Guess we'll see. The plan was to have Otto in the start to get a good start, which well, half worked. And then to have me in to negotiate the traffic when it's still a bit closer. And then maybe just gamble for a safety car on for the rest of the race by having Krause and Otto in the end, not having to do 1 hour stints, you know, and maybe being able to nail a restart or another if we get a safety car at an opportune moment. But it's not happened so far, and the damage we picked up through contacts, which weren't really our fault at all, that kind of cost us as well. Really not happy with the GT2 traffic today. Just, I don't know how many people got in my way at unopportune moments when sometimes it wasn't even their fault, but I'm not exactly full of joy with the way some GT2 drivers handled the GT1 lappers. And joining us now for, well, a little chit-chat is Dennis Lind, who just got out of that 06 Infinity SLR. Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
One of the many green cars out there today.
Oh, we like computer racing, so we all go in green, yeah?
Seemingly so. I thought there would be many red cars and would be, well, one amongst them, but, well, we're just one among, like, 4.
So how did your stints go?
Actually, it went over all expectations. Because I didn't really expect to be able to match any of the XRRs. So I'm quite pleased with finishing the stint in provisionally second position. So I'm quite pleased.
Yeah, Thilo asked me earlier on who sort of was surprising them. I was quite surprised to see FZR so close to the lead of the race. I mean, we noticed as well that you pitted a lot earlier on your last stint than on your other ones. Was that just so you could get an extra stint in? Or was there other reason?
we couldn't stretch it, so we could miss a pit stop, sadly. Because we don't really have problems with the tires at all. We only have problems with fuel, because there's simply not enough fuel to make more than 1 hour and 2 minutes, something like that. so we couldn't stretch it enough to do a four stopper. So it was basically just well, it was stupid to try and stretch it. But I mean, I was quite surprised to see the XRRs pitting so early. So I was quite pleased as well to see that we actually could leapfrog a few of them by just pitting a bit later than them. So all in all, I'm quite happy for the team right now.
Yeah, I guess that it's one of the things that is slightly in favour of FZR at this track is that like it's usually rear limited on the tyre wear rather than front limited, whereas this is a track that is usually harder on your fronts. So for XRR, it's actually a lot harder to make a set that will last the hour than for an FZR.
Yeah,
I don't really have that much experience with FZR GT1, sort of recent experience, so but that sort of was the reason I came up with that it was possible for you to extend your stint and they couldn't make an hour.
Yeah, I mean, XRR should be able to make an hour, but I don't know, this track is really, really tough on the front tires, as you said. So, yeah, for me as well, it was kind of hard to make a setup that would last the hour, because the rear tires are actually getting quite burnt as well. So we had to make a quite understeer setup, which I was not really happy for, so I think I'm running like 50 plus click in the rear end turbo bar compared to my teammates.
So what's the sort of strategy that you've got left for the rest of the race? I guess you're going to try and drive the last hour of the race.
No, actually I'm gonna go check a shower and attend to a friend of mine's birthday party, so I'm actually out of here in like a few seconds. But Latko is gonna jump in the car for the next, for the final two stints. Jake will be doing this one. So it's sort of hard to say where we'll end up in the end, but I think a top 5 is not impossible. I mean, everyone except third place was lapped by us as well. So yeah, I'm quite positive as of now.
Looks like it's sort of fairly close behind you, so you might end up getting a 4th or a 3rd, but you also might end up finishing quite a bit further down as well if a couple of things don't go your way or there's a safety car or something.
Timed out. Our race leader timed out.
Well, that's a change in things, isn't it?
How far was he into the lap when he timed out?
So that's a good question, actually.
Because that actually might not hurt them that badly, because they didn't make the hour, so now they're going to be able to save a stop by doing that.
Well, it depends on how hard they are on their tyres, but I guess for them it's good enough just...
Yeah, for what they've been able to do so far in the race, I would have thought it's just about okay.
I don't think I've ever experienced as bad tyre deg as on this track, and it's not like I've done many races here, or incredibly few races, but it's still quite remarkable. But you know, I was really nursing the car, losing a lot of time, especially for the fast corners, just to get the tyre deg down, and I just about managed 40 laps every time, and well, it just didn't work for us because Krasi and Dotter couldn't do it.
Oh, it sucks. I don't know if you noticed my left rear damper at any chance. That actually destroyed my third stint completely. And the second stint was actually better, but in the third stint it was quite hard to actually get the car to turn in any of the fast corners. So
yeah, because the car just I don't know, the damper just turns into a marshmallow and the car just rides it like nothing.
Exactly, and I think I actually had the wheel lift coming out of turn 1 a few times.
The right front wheel lifted.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite bad damper damage, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the penultimate corner was like, in the start of the stint was less than 210 kilometers an hour, and in the FZR, you should be able to take it at least over 210 at any lap of the stint, even through heat pit. So it was quite hard to adjust the car to actually get to turn in the first corners. Because every time I had to turn left in the first corner, especially in turn, what's that? That's turn 11, I think. The left-hander. The car would oversteer like no tomorrow, and then up the hill I'd run into a wall of understeer. So it was quite a challenge to actually get the car to feel somewhat normal, I guess.
And damage isn't exactly something that really annoys me in a way in LFS. It's just because you have so much aero, you just carry so much speed through the corners, and that means that every like millimeter, micrometer that any part of the suspension is not well set right in, you feel that in every single corner, in every single high-speed corner, more than all of the others.
Yeah, and it was, as I said, it was quite difficult to actually adapt to that, so that it would change every lap and get worse and worse. So it was sort of a gamble every time I went into the penultimate corner to see what speed I could carry it. So I had to nurse the brake a bit to actually get the right speed through and not run so
By
much
the way,
on the
the
grass.
timeout of our lead car was just about halfway around the track.
Ouch.
So
Optimum.
yeah, he was just on this past the first split, past the chicane there.
That's pretty much 40 seconds, 3/4 of a minute lap wasted. Probably lost about close to a minute from that. Overall.
Anyways, I will be taking off. I wish you all the best for the rest of the race, Dominik, and have fun in the commentary booth, guys.
I'm sure I will. It's one way or another.
Dominik always has fun.
Alright, man. See you guys.
Bye. That was Dennis Lind for now. Well, 3 hours and 11 minutes and 24 seconds and more seconds and more seconds as the seconds go on into the race.
And Virus leads.
Team Virus leads, car 2 leads the race over. Oh, there's someone timing out. I think I saw someone timing out there. I'm not sure whom it was.
What happened to
61.
What happened
Yeah.
to Infinity? Weren't they miles ahead of Virez? Did they have an off?
I think no, they repaired damage. That's what Dennis was talking about.
Oh yeah, right, okay.
So 61, that's
One-
world-class Lions.
And he'll be gone in a couple of. Oh, he's gone. I was gonna say he's back because he timed out when the timer in the connection list had 28, not 31 on it. But unfortunately, that's another of one of the. I think they were running quite far up front, or not, in GT2.
61 were 5th in GT2.
5th out of 18. Can't exactly say that's bad.
That's true. Dom, since you were in the car and just remembered, how did you see, from your perspective, all these punctures around the racetrack? Again, a couple of them.
Well, to be honest, the punctures just proved us, well, that gave us kind of some feeling of, like, oh yeah, we made the right decision pre-race to go down the safe route because the punctures seriously weren't worth it. It's just, the damage element that we really didn't think about, that we would get into so much trouble with that. I mean, we had to repair the car after my double stint just now, and well, hopefully we won't need another one for whatever reason, because then our race really is beyond recognition from what we had it planned to be like. Yeah, the punctures really, I think that's just, in my opinion, every time someone gets a puncture, that's a bit of lack of preparation, if you ask me. Just because through you know, I know. Testing isn't exactly the same as you know, being in the race, being with other cars. A bit of contact here, a bit of contact there, even if it isn't meant to happen. But no, when you test a lot, you at least get an idea of what things are going to be like, and I think some people just really didn't do that too much.
I mean, sometimes it can be right on the edge, and you take the risk anyway.
Yeah,
But I mean, and this is
that's
one of those
one
sort of
case.
tracks. But yeah, I mean, if you get one puncture in the race, then that's sort of one thing. But if you
That's
get,
a warning. If you get
like,
another, then you're just being ignorant.
because I mean, as well, if you get one puncture, surely that costs you enough time that you don't need to extend the other stints. Usually, like if you lose a lot of time in one stint, it means that you don't actually need to do as many laps anymore. So. Because usually you get the case in these sort of races where you've got like 1 or 2 stints that you have to do that are pushing it a bit, and then the rest are all okay as long as you get the other ones done. So usually, like for us, we usually got like a better driver on tyres to do that stint, and then it sort of took the pressure off the guys who were marginal on tyres. But obviously, sometimes you don't get that.
That way around is always better. That way around is always better than the things I think I experienced that most in GTL than any other league. You know, these 1 hour, 18-minute drives in the last stint where someone with every single bit of tire millimeter tread they have tries to make it without another stop to the end. And then just 2 laps from the end they pop a tire, or they're just embarrassingly slow because they're trying to make it.
Yeah, well, that's always a bit clumsy, because the only the place where you make the difference on your tyre wear is in the sort of the heat peak phase, and then really going slow at the end, it won't really help you because you'll just let your tyres cool down even more, and then you'll just scrub them more, and it won't make as big a difference as if you just, you know, brake a little bit earlier at the start of your stint and carry a little bit less corner speed. You can extend your stint by quite a lot if you do those things properly, if you need to. But it usually costs you sort of half second per lap, and it's not worth it. But you do sometimes see, like, if there's a safety car just outside what would normally be possible in a stint, it does sometimes happen that you get a driver who can extend their stint just to win the race by saving their tyres.
I remember 3 years ago, I think Inferno almost won. No, it was 4 years ago, it was in 09. Inferno almost won the 8-hour IGTC race at AS4, and they only made 5 pit stops.
I think I remember something sort of crazy from Alan Terzic, who's in your team right now. Didn't he do like a 1 hour 12-minute stint in GTL on our 2 XRR?
Yeah, I think he did. That was also one of those great things. But I don't know, I don't like to talk about GT2, not after my stints.
But it also depends on the track, because some tracks where you're using like a soft compound where the damage is done in your heat peak, you can do more than on a track like this, where even if you save your tyres at the start, it'll go back against you again at the end when your tyres are too cold and you don't have it's sort of.
Oh, someone got lag crashed. That's I think Linden 49 just got lag crashed off the track. I don't know by who, but I just saw. Well, apparently 57. Holy moly! Oh, and there's contact between the 60 and the 49. Oh dear, that's gone wrong. Not too much damage on the 49s then, but well, those extra periods on the grass aren't necessary. There we go, get it pointed back into the right direction, but a clear track.
Yeah, 59 is.
How is Koreni not disconnected yet? He's already got a 46 sec. Oh, now he's driving through the air. And his car is totaled. He's got maximum lower wishbone damage on both right side suspensions and on almost maximum damage on both left side dampers. As well as almost maximum damage on both right side uprights, so yeah, I think it's a good idea that his teammates connecting and to take over.
Well, if he makes it to take over, because he is again.
Oh my god, I remember the GTA finale 3 years ago, 2010 season at KY2, when Mr. Simon Cattell, who thinks everything's sheet, and Alan Prost is the greatest things in sliced bread and the invention of the wheel. When he drove for SR, and he had his great internet timer, which would always make him disconnect at 23 CET. And they timed his pit stop in the exact. They couldn't have done it 1 second later to take over, otherwise they would have timed out on it. That was just one of the closest things ever. I don't know why I even remember it, probably because I wasn't that race, but
Koreni still hasn't hasn't. So he's a hazard for every car entering the pit lane.
Actually, why is he? Why? That's not Koreni anymore. What's happening now? But it's the same story.
Oh.
One thing that.
They don't have any other drivers on their roster, so.
So Harpen is on the track.
Not really yet.
Yeah, he's floating.
He just passed that split line. I think he's coming back. Yep, he's coming back. There we go again. Now he's a car on a track like it should be.
Another car floating over the track, like an iRacing. But I get they have fixed it by now. That's 2 years ago since I did iRacing.
They've also got driver check. Oh no, wait, they don't.
But they've got wind, as we talked about.
That reminds me, wind, for no reason known to me, that reminds me of refreshing the tracker and getting it going, and seeing that 3ID is in 5th, which means they're behind the number 7 CQ car.
But it'll be different in reality once everything shakes out. If they don't have to if they make one less pit stop, in that case, they'd only be like 20 seconds off the lead. But strategy might make it harder for them to catch that back, because Mares are further into their stint right now, so they can't really. It's harder for them to catch.
Well, yeah, I was just referring to it as it is now, positions-wise on track. But well,
yeah, if you took into account the pit stops, they're probably around the sort of somewhere in between Genuine and Infinity, I would have thought, but.
By the way, last lap, Genuine Racing 1:35.6, Infinity Esports 1:32.04.
And that's only a fraction off what Jacob Cooper's fastest lap is in his stints, so looks like fairly shortly Genuine might be challenging for second place.
I guess we'll see. Never know what's gonna happen. All I know is that I've poured myself a refreshing glass of beverage. Or a glass of a refreshing beverage even. Because even though it's apparently only 19.5 degrees Celsius in here, I feel like I'm covered in lava.
We are asked to explain what happened to my 3ID.
They timed out.
Yeah, they actually timed out.
In the middle of the
yeah.
in the middle of the second sector, so they lost about, I guess,
At
about
the first
a minute.
split.
I guess they lost about a minute.
Yeah, probably overall they lost about a minute.
Actually, no, it must be more than that, because they were miles ahead of Vires, weren't they? And they're about a minute behind. Wait. Yeah, I think they're about a minute behind Vires right now, aren't they? So they must have lost about a minute and a half. A minute from the timeout, and then a bit extra for connecting to the server and everything else.
So that should answer the question we got in our thread. Again, you can post your questions there. Go to into the LFS forums. Under general discussion, there's our thread called GT World Series 2014 Round 1 broadcast live 26th of October.
At least Nokia is within reach of the Conquest. I can't really see him yet, but he's not exactly far away from him.
Chances are the Conquest car will pit before he catches him, though. Conquest
likely,
45 minutes into his stint, so that should work out quite nicely for them.
Most likely, and Tomix in the corner, who's not going to exactly pedal it slowly.
But he has to sort of balance that, though, because he could go on the full attack, but if he then makes it so they can't save the stop, then there's no way he can make the time back that he loses from that. So, I mean, if he can make his tyres last, they've got a chance of getting back onto the sort of, well, they definitely have a chance of second and possibly first, depending on how things go. The problem is that if Joe Holmes isn't possibly driving today, then R2 has to drive again, and we all know that he's a bit of a timeout risk. And there was no warning; he just lost connection straight away, so he didn't even lag.
That's pretty much how it always is with his timeouts, because it's not exactly that's the first time that's happened this year.
Yeah,
it's just always fine, gone.
It's like
Quite
he uses
sounds like
wireless
an
or
card.
something.
Yeah, it's a bit like he's using wireless, but it's surely then there would be more fluctuation in his ping and his packet loss.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I've spoken to him before, and he says he doesn't, so that isn't what it is. But it must
like
be. I think it must be something, the router or something. I can't believe that it's. Surely, if it's a line fault, it would have been fixed by now.
Not in today's world necessarily.
It depends what company you're at.
And what country you're in, I guess, actually.
And what country, yeah.
Finland usually has fairly decent internet, though. They have their priorities right.
Yeah, they do.
It's at least, well, you know, I could understand if he constantly times out if he had the famous Alan Terzic DSL 1000 wireless connection. That either works for 6 months and then times out on race day, or never times out the whole time in practice and then for once works in the race. Which is now no longer the case because he's had a massive internet upgrade. With cables and shit.
I had recently the problem that, about 2 months ago, that every time I tried to play LFS, I suddenly lost the connection while TeamSpeak and everything else stayed connected.
Yeah, I know that one.
Well, I had the problem a while ago that with fibre optic internet, I was getting 0.05 megabits per second internet connection.
Yes, I know that one. I remember that one. You had like 4 times the upload that you had download. On
Well,
that
it was
speed
more
test
than, more,
net
it was
thing.
it was more than that, but yeah, it was pretty insane.
As I
And
have
it
like
took-
no
it took them,
upload.
it took them like a week to fix that as well. It was the weird thing was then when you actually compared it on speedtest.net that they were like saying that that's better than 30 or 40% of UK, and I'm like, I hope that is not true.
I fear it is.
Do like 40% of the UK not have an internet connection?
I
or
think they're
what?
just on 3G phone connection because people nowadays think that's sufficient.
That's still probably better than what I had. Dial-up was probably better than what I had.
Oh, that reminds me. I don't know which website it was on. I was reading some review of a laptop and you know, the built-in wireless, and the guy said in the review that one of the negative points was it didn't make a dial-up noise when it connected to the internet. Surely it's not exactly a negative thing.
Anyway, changing the topic back to the racing.
There's a race, what?
Yeah, Jacob Cooper managed to raise his pace a bit, so he only lost 0.6 of a second to Brassy last lap. And Vires did their fastest lap of the race so far.
By the way, Mouseman is still cheering for Team Virus, but also now for the 77 of Call Racing.
So he's basically just supporting the teams that are winning.
That's not what I'd do. It really is bad that there's no like Minardi in LFS, because I'd always want Minardi to like just score 1 point, just 1. Not like 5, just 1. Oh, Minardi did lead a lap once. In case anyone out there didn't know, they
I
were
didn't.
on the front row. In some US Grand Prix in God knows what year, I think 91.
Okay.
Although it has to actually be said that LLM are only 25 seconds behind Core, which is a pretty good effort.
They did well in Q1 and Q2 really. Can't say much about that.
Well, from the lap times, it's a pretty good effort. When I was alone here in the booth, I again warmed up the story about my first memory of Nathan Lamoth. Him lying upside down on the Kyoto national circuit in a F8.
Yeah, on the oval part, we have to point out.
Yeah, on the oval part.
I still remember my very first Gallifre's kart race, and I met one of the most... I don't know how to describe him really. One of the most unique characters in sim racing, who is probably Jack Sedgwick. And I was right behind him on the first lap. It was on Kyoto National, and just coming into the third split, you know that buggy curb on the right? That buggy curb on the right, just before you go back onto your oval and Kyoto 2. Basically, just turned into early, got the edge of that, spun around out in front of me, almost completely clouted into him. And that's my first league racing memory of Jack Sedgwick. And my first memory at all, actually.
God
Not a
bless
very
the
good
other
one.
pits.
Of your entire life.
That would be very.
That would be sad, because
worrying.
that would mean I can't remember the actual first 15 years of my life.
Well, you never know. You're like the encyclopedia of LFS, so you might have just brainwashed yourself with everything else so you can store more LFS memory inside your brain.
That would still be sad.
I don't know, LFS card 2010, you know, that was my first proper league racing season. It's full of Jack Sedgwick, what the fuck moments. Just, you know, the round 2, LFS kart light, FE4, Jack's overtaken me, pulled away, can't see him anymore because he's too many corners ahead. Suddenly, safety car, I'm like, what for? What for? Nothing's happened. And then in the corner, where it is 110% impossible to flip, there's Jack lying upside down on the edge of the track.
Reminds me of him and the TBO trophy, Turbo Trophy this season of your championship.
Oh yes, of course, he flipped on a flat surface at AS2R. Oh dear, only Jack Sedgwick can do these things.
Last Lap Motorsports GT2 number 72 just completed that rough through penalty. Full speeding in the pit lane.
Krasi's getting somewhat close to Jake Cooper now. It's within, well, he can even almost tell the color scheme of that car apart from the others now.
And my free idea up to 4th place, seeing as, I guess, yeah, Conquest just pitted, so that's why.
Jake Cooper said that he's cheering for Last Lap Motorsports 72 car. By the way.
Oh, and 67 lost connection. Oh my god! Close moment there between Jenna and the fast and crazy GT2 car.
67. That's what? No, Wonder Girls.
67 Wonder Girls, yes.
They have been retired after.
Oh yeah, you're right. Why is he here then?
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe he
Leaders in the pits. So whoa.
Maybe he never left the server.
Could be true, actually.
The lap before he pitted, he managed to get his first lap into the 29s, so he had some very good pace, which might prove useful against Free ID or Genuine later on in the race, perhaps.
And off goes Virus, Niki Dakovic back in the car.
Ivanov now side by side with Cooper. On the outside, not working yet, but
Close to Dorf, just there on the outside. Couldn't use his run up he had. Jake's using the lifted up brakes to his advantage at least. Oh, there we go again. Draft! Don't touch. Not gonna work out, is it? Oh, no. Oh, rescued that one just about, Jake. I lost the place, but kept on the track at least. Is well, usually a priority. Priority.
I have nightmares of my teammates telling me to stay on the black stuff.
I don't really, but well, I've done a few blunders in my time last season. You know, I did all races in GT1 World Series last season, bar the last one, and in the in the 24-hour race. And I'm not sure if I said this publicly, but in the 24-hour race, I managed to, you know, you know, the chicane pit entry at KY3, and I tried to brake as late as possible, and the rear brakes locked, the rear tire locked, and I was 90 degrees sideways in the pit entry.
At least your moment sounds remotely fun and interesting, rather than
It was
you know.
was funny. It was funny, even at the time. It was embarrassing, but it was funny.
My problems in the 24-hour race were being teammates with people whose wheels kept.
It was, you know, the one I watched actually in the replay, the first failure I watched. Has these so random, you know, who's driving along just fine, and suddenly he's just spasming off into a random direction.
Well, the first one he had it in the pit lane, and he like had to tab out of LFS, but that took ages for some reason, and then he had to like type to us in team chat to join because his push to talk is on his wheel. But like, it was funny because before the race he was like, by the way guys, if I crash and don't talk and then my controls change, it's because my wheel has broken. And we were like, okay,
that's fine. That's fine.
Like that'll never happen. Stop worrying. And then it happens twice. The worst thing is, then after the race, he decided, yeah, maybe I'll clean out my USB slot and see if that helps. And then he hasn't had the issue since. So I don't quite get, you know, maybe he was like, well, let's just try and make this race a little bit more interesting rather than fix my wheel issue.
You know, the wheel issue I had on my old wheel on my old G27 before it broke was a very interesting one. You know, it didn't lose connection to the whatever program and to the PC, but what happened instead, that it ignored whatever setting was in the profile and it just went to 900 degrees. Which doesn't sound too bad, but while driving that can be an issue. Krasi should be coming in soon, because that left front doesn't look too healthy. Though, even if he is behind Virus, but I guess he's... Well, basically that means he's just over a pit stop behind Virus at the moment.
Is it me or
Looks
did...
like, yep, heading for the pit lane. Stop number 4.
Have you noticed that we had a car the wrong way in the pit lane entry?
Not really.
Well, shortly after you left, I suddenly saw a car facing the wrong direction, standing next to the pit lane wall. I guess he spun it on braking. How many thousand times did you practice the pit lane entry?
Not many, because I barely did any stints in comparison to usual. That's the thing, you know. We didn't do the preparation work we'd like to have done. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's showing, but it's really kind of, well, it's affected us pre-race. Like, we didn't know what pace we were gonna do compared to others, or where we would race, or where we would be able to keep our position. Because obviously, since there's this whole setup extractor malarkey, no one's practicing in public anymore. Which I think is a disgrace. Not that no one's practicing, because that's completely understandable, but that such a program even exists is really not doing LFS any good, or anyone who wants fair competition.
Here's a question from race control.
Yes.
What effect might have an a safety car if it happens right now?
Well, it'd bring Free ID right back into a GT1.
Yeah, that would bring them right back into it. Generally, strategy-wise, it wouldn't have much of an effect, because everyone would have to do 2 stops from now.
It'd be really bad for Vires, because they're actually in the lead ahead of Infinity, even though Infinity haven't stopped yet, so they'd lose like 50 seconds to them, but obviously less to Free ID if they can not have to stop the extra time, I guess. Wait, that doesn't make sense.
Just a little excursion there from the Virus GT2 54 off Morgan Trolley, right in front of Niki Dakovic, right, through what is turn 4, the normal way around. God knows which turn it is this way around.
15?
Bank
Or what?
left-hander. Bank left-hander with the no curb.
Turn it
Okay,
left.
it's the Jason Lovett corner, I've just decided.
Also, LLM have actually caught 6 seconds since we last mentioned how far they were
And
off
Cole.
core at the front of... Yeah. I've heard that Sammy's had quite a few issues with back markers in this stint and he's quite frustrated, so I'm pretty sure he'll be glad once this stint's out of the way and someone else can get into the car, I would have thought.
I noticed that the 77 car was overtaken by fellow class racers that were a couple of laps behind. So I wonder if they are really what they are doing, because they used to be faster by at least a second in average.
Are they still doing the straight line speed they did when, well, they used to do at least. Because it doesn't seem like it's lacking too much power from the outside.
So no engine damage.
Who knows that? I mean, depends. It depends what wing settings they have and what the tire pressure is. To check their top speed just now on the front stretch, then I'll know roughly. Not exactly fantastic, but seems decent for a GT2, 245 kilometers an hour. So since Mr. Jonathan Palmer requires me to teach a history lesson to everyone, once upon a time,
In a land far, far away.
in a land far, far away. Actually, I can't say Wales because Jason Lovett is English, but well, MOE 08, 6 hours Westhill. Certain team called Sonic Realms, new in the MOE scene. Second race. No, actually, no. Third race, sorry. And Mr. Jason Lovett's driving comes down to the very corner that Mr. Antonen is going through right now, just going the other way, puts off a wheel on entry, which is turn 11, which whatever it's called on this map, turn 11, and goes off with a nice cloud of smoke into the gravel. Then to rejoin, he lets a few cars by, and just in the moment as he tries to rejoin, there's a team called Mercury Racing. Once upon a time they were apparently good, coming through, and he clips them and costs them 10 seconds and possibly a second place finish. And if I'm not wrong, they got quite a hefty penalty for that, and well, yeah, that's why it's called the Jason Lovett corner.
Now we've got Ray Kingsbury joining the server and instantly leaving again.
A few people did that while I was driving. I was wondering what the hell was going on.
It was mainly R2, wasn't it? He was the only one we
It was
mentioned.
R2, and I think I saw someone, but I think I saw something a second time, but it might have been him again. I don't know.
I think Arthur did it 3 or 4 times even.
Oh no, there are some. I was busy with being crashed into by GT2s.
Yeah, you were.
Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but really, I don't think, you know, I've done a few multi-class endurance races, fine, but I don't think I've ever had that many cars tripping over themselves right in front of me as I did in those 2 stints today.
Free ID are only 7 seconds off Infinity for 2nd place now.
Indeed. They come through turn 1. Can already see him right in front of him. Well, not right in front of him, but the car, well, in front of that Virus GT2 car, which is right in front of him, at least for the moment.
Also, worryingly for Free ID, very recently R2 timed out from TeamSpeak again, so he's still got the issue that he had earlier on. So I guess they're going to be in a bit of trouble because it doesn't look like they've got another driver to drive instead of him, and Tomek can't do the whole race, so it's kind of unfortunate for them.
Well, they entered Joe Holmes, but I doubt he will.
According to the words of Imor, he is out partying every day.
Oh, but Atfu just rejoined.
Oh! That's close.
What happened? Where happened?
Free ID's past Infinity.
Oh! Good that we had that on stream.
Good that I whoa in the right moment. So I have just tasted something which should be one of the challenges on I Am a Celebrity, get me out of here.
Did you eat like an insect or something? Or
No,
a snake?
I just had a sip of the worst beer this side of the moon.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they do on I'm a Celebrity.
Trust me, if they had this stuff, they would.
Oh, Cooper is now very offline. And we're getting close to our next and final break. Will be commercial free for the rest of the race. So we'll be back in a few seconds, and until then we have you a nice little black screen without commercials in our commercial break.